What's good, everybody, and welcome to another beautiful episode of Andromeda. Today, we have a very special guest in the building. We have Erwin, who is the founder of Pixel Maps, considered to be the second oldest NFT on the Ethereum blockchain, created in 2016. Very ancient, very early. So this should be really good. So, Ken, tell us a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, and pretty much what's your background.
My name's Ken Erwin. I grew up mostly in Indiana. I was born in Virginia, but I was only there till I was like 5. Pixel Map I launched in 2016. I was definitely super inspired by the $1 Million Homepage, which was a very early just like internet website. The thing that I wanted to do though is to make a version of that where people truly own like their respective spot on the map. And that was kind of what drove me to make it. I built it as a fun thing in 2016. Sometime around 2017, I kind of forgot about it. And then Adam McBride reached out to me and basically said, "Hey, I think you made the second NFT." And I was like, I started Googling. So yeah, it's been a very weird, like the entire thing has been super weird for me, but a lot of fun.
We're going to break this down all from the top. So the first thing I want to start off with, do you know what year the $1 Million Homepage was created, or around what time it was popular?
Oh, it's ancient. I don't think it was even 2010. I want to say it was like 2005 or something. I should know that off the top of my head, but it's a very old page.
Okay. So whoever doesn't know what the $1 Million Homepage is, I actually had to do some research on this myself. Is these little pages basically like almost an old advertising page where there's a million different spots, and it seemed like the dude was selling them for $1. Am I correct? Was he selling each spot for $1?
$1 per pixel. So like a little square would have been probably like 256 pixels.
And there's a million of them.
Yes,
So,
yeah. And he ended up getting exactly $1 million.
Yeah, I look back at this and it's so genius that he probably thought of how can I make $1 million, and then he just created this thing where people paid him, and he became a millionaire off of getting 1 million people to sign up on his website, which is pretty cool. Just looking at this page, you could tell that it's a very, very early concept of the internet. So what I want to know, because I look back here, and the only thing that I really even recognize on this map is this little eBay down here. I guess back then people had their websites linked to this, and it was pretty much just an advertising method to promote yourself. So what about this inspired you, and how is, obviously we could look at your current background, how is Pixel Maps related to this?
So for Pixel Map, I was thinking like I had known about the $1 Million Homepage, and around like early 2016, I started working with like making Solidity contracts for fun. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was like with the $1 Million Homepage, everyone that was buying them, they still aren't like the ones that actually own the space. Mm-hmm. So they're basically paying the person that created it to upload that picture for them. And it's one person that's maintaining the website. And the part that I didn't like about that was it's not really decentralized, and you still have like, it's really, he still owns them, but he's like not renting, because he's sold the spaces and they've never changed. But I want it to be something where people truly own like their individual block. And I just wanted to learn Solidity. I thought it was like a perfect use case. And
can you define Solidity and kind of what that is? Because I'm not exactly familiar.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. So with Ethereum, that is the most popular way to language to write smart contracts.
Gotcha.
There were a couple, like there was one called I think Viper or something like that before Solidity, but didn't really take off. The vast majority of smart contracts are Solidity though. And then the other part of that was like the guy made $1 million. I thought it would be very cool to make.
Yeah.
I thought I might make like a couple thousand off of it if I was lucky. I remember back in 2016, I think I made like $300 because I remember bragging to all my friends that I made a few $100s off of it.
Yeah.
And then and I forgot about it, and then I ended up making quite a bit more than the $1 Million Homepage. So it's been a very weird
ride. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
How did you know about ETH in 2016? How did you know about this technology? Were you using it before? Did you know that this was one of the oldest at the moment? Was that any of your intentions that I'm going to create one of the first, I'm pretty sure at that point it wasn't called NFTs, but projects on this technology?
So I was involved with Bitcoin very, very early on. Like in 2013, I actually I worked as a system admin at a small insurance company,
Mhm.
and I convinced them to be the first insurance company to ever do a policy paid for in Bitcoin.
Wow.
So that was a huge deal for me. The accounting department absolutely hated me because there's like they had no like, how do we even put this in our books kind of thing. And then at some point, very early when Ethereum was, I don't even remember when it was launched. I started looking at it, and I really didn't think that Ethereum, like, I thought Bitcoin would be huge, and like by now I figured we'd be buying like double quarter pounders with Bitcoin. I
Yeah,
was very
yeah.
wrong about that. But Ethereum, I just thought was fun, and I really didn't know if it was going to take off or anything. I remember I actually looked on one of my old hard drives, and I kept track of like my transactions, and I sold 400 ETH at 2 cents each. That
Wow.
was a gigantic mistake. I just thought like I thought it was like a joke, not like a joke, but like kind of like how you would look at Doge, but you can't even look at Doge like that anymore. Now Doge is worth a lot. So
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I was really involved from a very like I just thought crypto was just super fun.
But I would also say you were an early adopter, an extreme early adopter in a sense. You're like, this thing looks pretty interesting to me. Let me just play around with the technology. Let me see what I could create. Let me get better with this technology and kind of be ahead of the curve, which is very cool because a lot of people at that time, and this was makes what makes you great, and why you will go down for the end to the end of time, and your name and your in pixel maps will live even long after you're gone, is because you didn't bash the innovation. Like a lot of people at that time, what is Bitcoin? It's a scam, it's fraud. What is Ethereum? What are these things? And they kind of neglected it and threw it away while you embraced it and tried to build on it. And you are an early innovator to what we see this NFT mania in 2021 is, which is nothing to what's coming in the next 5 to 10 years. I just kind of want to dive in a little bit more into pixel maps. Okay. So here is the pixelmap.io website or domain.
Yep, yep.
Immediately, the first one that's kind of funny to me is this Donda one. But so just tell me about the blank blocks. Are these blocks for sale, or do you own them?
So no, so the little like reddish ones that you're looking at,
Mhm.
reddish means that they're already sold, but no one has set a picture on them. That they're back in 2016, you would see a lot of white squares because they'd be unsold.
Mm.
So the issue, the reason why you don't see more pictures is because all of the data itself, like the art, is actually stored on the blockchain as well. So you've probably seen like the gas prices have been pretty terrible lately.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that we just rolled out was compression to make that a lot cheaper, so it's about 1/10 the price. But yeah, like if you were trying to set your picture on a bad day, you'd be looking at like 500 or more per square. Now you can get down to about $20-$30, but yeah, for a while it was ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would love to see it like how your background is, especially since all these blocks are sold. It's just a matter of time before, people start flooding in and actually putting their things to live on forever in history. I think we can't talk about the actual pixels without actually talking about the background. What inspired this background? I know this is a Zelda background, but what made you say, were you just a Zelda fanatic, or did you feel
Um,
like it made sense at the moment?
So that's a funny question because I'm actually I found a pixel artist that I'm working with to try to get a very similar but different background, just because I don't want like Nintendo might not be super happy, even though it was because yeah that was A Link to the Past Zelda. That game was one of my favorites of all time, and it was actually probably a big reason why I got into programming to begin with, because I always wanted to make something similar. I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So I started out learning programming to do like game development.
Mm.
Um, I've never made anything like worth playing. I've made like little things that you can just walk around and do almost nothing. But that was definitely what kind of motivated me. You're not a Zelda fanatic, but it was definitely like one of my favorite games during my childhood.
Yeah, Zelda was a good one. I enjoyed Zelda as well. I enjoyed all those little RPG style games back then. Definitely was a moment in history that games today just don't just don't have the same feel. So
Have you ever heard of Mario Paint by any chance?
Mario Paint,
It
I bel
so it was old school too. Like it was around the same time for Super Nintendo. The tile map itself and like those little blank boxes, those were actually from Mario Paint. So it was like this game where
mm,
you could draw like your own pixels and stuff.
yeah,
It was pretty cool.
very interesting. So I'm assuming just like the $1 million homepage, the main purpose was basically to, you know, be an advertising method. And when somebody clicks on this, like Zero see him all the time in the Discord, and it's pretty much to link you to that person's, I guess, page or whatever they're trying to show off on the blockchain.
Sort of. So like when I originally made it in 2016, it was purely like the $1 million homepage where I was thinking that people would just use it to advertise. The thing that I've been seeing a lot of people do though is if you look, that tile is actually really cool.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I think we raised like I can't remember how much money. That was really cool though. Um, that I don't know if you know about that tile. That used to be the thief tile. A scammer stole it from me, and then we were able to get it back, and then we used it to raise money for Haiti. So that was really fun.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that.
And then what was I saying? The other thing that I've been seeing people do probably more though than advertising is sort of like a PFP. So like, if you look at Snows, which is that yellow CryptoPunk at the top, or like there's lots of CryptoPunks, lots of like Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. I've seen a lot of people on Discord where they are setting like their PFP that they have on Pixel Map and like reusing it, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then the only other use case I've seen is like that little for rent one, which no offense to whoever that is, it looks kind of ugly. I know people were thinking that they could like rent theirs out, but for the most part, people seem to just want to display like their own art on the thing.
I think the for rent is actually a pretty cool idea.
It
And
it
yeah,
is. And I'm so the other thing that we're looking at is a couple things. So one is to make renting easier because right now it's not super easy to do. Just because you have to, it's more like built on trust, which is okay, but I want to do it where it's more contract based. And then the other thing is making it very easy to swap positions, because one of the things that we've seen is that people like to have like little bundles so they can make a bigger picture, and lots of people have like little individual squares and they're trying to swap with someone else. So I'm just trying to make that really, really easy as well. So you don't have to do like, you buy this from me and I promise I'll buy yours from you.
mhm,
And worry
yeah,
about not following through.
where people could get scammed pretty easily.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So I want to move forward a little bit. Okay, so you created a project in 2016. It was meant to be an experiment, meant to be something fun, meant to test out this new technology that you found pretty fascinating. We are now in the year 2021. You kind of forget about the project. It's a thing of the past. Just so we catch up, what happens between 2016 and 2021? What are you doing with your life?
I probably switched jobs like 4 or 5 times during that because just with my field, you generally do a lot better the like if you switch.
Mhm.
I worked at I think Salesforce, Car, Amazon. I don't remember all the different places, but mostly just focused on my career, my family, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
The last like crypto thing that I had done that was significant prior to jumping to 2021 was I bet I believe it was 400 ETH on the election through Ether Delta, and I was incorrect on who I thought would win,
Ah,
and it made it a pretty rough night. So that's what burnt me out on crypto because I literally put everything into it. That burnt me out for like years. So that was but
oh my
yeah,
god! You usually use the term "bet the house." You betted everything
I
on that,
did. And
and
I'm that kind of person. Like I like to YOLO a lot. Like it's really bad for me to go to a casino because like
yeah,
yeah, I'll put it all on like red and then it'll go well. And I'm like, I should just keep doing it again. And yeah, it doesn't go well every time.
yeah.
Um,
I know exactly how you feel. I bet on mainly college football, but I seen a really big bet last week where the dude picked. It was three teams that he picked to that were pretty much guaranteed favorites. One of them being Alabama. Everybody knows about Alabama, whether you
yeah,
watch
yeah.
football or not. and Alabama's the number one team in the country, and they end up losing. He put 500K on the bet to make 100K, and they end up losing. And I know however you
Oh my
felt,
God. Yeah, that game. Oh my
yeah,
God.
however you felt when you bet that 400 ETH is probably exactly how that dude felt losing his 500K, thinking it was going to be an easy win. So betting is a very, very, very dangerous,
Well,
fun,
I felt
fun thing at
worse
the same
every
time.
like couple months as like Ethereum kept going up, because like Ethereum, when I bought it, like Ethereum was like $200 each, and I was like, oh my God, I could be like rich and retired.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I still have like a million of these tokens called Trump N tokens, which stands
yeah.
for like Trump no, and like they're just sitting in my wallet. Like there's nothing I can do with them.
Oh man, that is hilarious. 400 ETH right now is who knows, God knows how much money that is.
It'd be a lot.
Um,
It'd be pretty
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
that'll be a lot of money. Okay. So we're gonna move forward. Okay, so during that period, you're kind of doing your own thing, focus on family, focus on yourself, and the project is kind of on the back burner. Adam McBride comes around, he gets in contact with you. So describe to me and talk to me about the restoration of this project. How does this project come back to life, and what are the future plans and current plans that you have in mind?
I think it was August 22nd, or like right around there. I need to check the timeline again. But he had messaged me on LinkedIn as well as emailed me. And it was basically like, hey, are you the founder of Pixel Map? If so, I really want to talk to you. There's like, you might be able to make quite a bit off of it, because I think it's the second oldest NFT. And like my first thing, I ignored it at first. I was like, I thought it was a scammer. And then like I was thinking about it, I was like, how does scammer know about Pixel Map? Like my site hasn't even been online for like years. And I actually looked later, and the domain was expiring in 2 months. So like I almost didn't have Pixel, like the domain itself, if it had been any later. But yeah, I told him, hey, I'll be home a little bit later if you want to talk. And he's like, sure. So I hopped on a Zoom with him, and then he gave me like a super fast like catch me up on NFTs. Because I knew I'd heard that Steph Curry had bought an NFT. Like that was the
Yeah,
extent of what I
yeah,
knew. And he explained it. I was like, yeah, my Pixel Map is an NFT. Like I wasn't trying to make one, but yeah,
yeah.
like the description you're telling me. Um, and then I remember, let's see, it was really crazy because that night he bought one, like the thing that I tried to do was he said it would probably be hard to sell each of them for 2 ETH like out of the gate, because no one knows about it, and I should lower it to a lower number, and we agreed on 0.35 to increase like the amount of holders, that type of thing, and just like get the name out there. And I remember I sold one to him that night, and then my dad ended up having a really bad heart attack at like exactly the same time. And so the short version of that is I was in the hospital with him like every other day, because of COVID, we could only have two guests, which would be my mom, me, and my sister, and we'd kind of
Oh,
alternate.
yeah.
And I looked it up a couple days ago. I was actually awake with no, I did not sleep for 50 and a half hours, because that was when I was trying to like spend time with my dad, list the tiles for Pixel Map, talk to Adam. It was just crazy, like insanely crazy. I don't know. It was a very weird week, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of how it
that
started.
it's a lot. I could imagine you probably went through every emotional roller coaster, the fear, sadness, happiness, joy
I
between your dad and your baby coming back to life.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't on anything, but like I felt like I was on some seriously jacked up something. Like yeah, I
Yeah,
was sobbing and then like laughing, and then like I kept thinking like there's no way this is real. I withdrew I think the first million very quickly, just to see, because I didn't believe, like I was like, I knew crypto, but I was like, somehow I'm being punked. Like there's
mm.
no way this is legit. And then when it hit my chase, I was just like,
Yo.
yeah, like what, like yeah. And I was still working at Amazon too, and then like my daughter got COVID the same week, and then we ended up getting COVID.
Ah, shit.
And we were vaccinated too, which is really lame. Like I
Yeah,
thought I was gonna be set, but yeah, it was just the by far the weirdest week of my life. Like, and
but
yeah, I
it's
felt like I was tripolar or something.
I think a good story sometimes is patience in this whole entire thing, that you created this thing in 2016 in hopes to make $1 million. But your manifestation didn't come until 5, 6 years later. And the vision actually, the appreciation for this project didn't come into 5, 6 later, because you were so early. You were an innovator among innovators. You were way before your time, to the point where it's not that nobody wanted to support you back then. People just the human mind, the average human mind just simply didn't have the capacity to understand what you were trying to do then. And here we are 4 or 5 years later. Now the masses like me are finally caught up to where you were 4 years ago, which is pretty interesting. And we who are in the NFT space in 2021 are still extremely early compared to what's coming in the near future. Coinbase just announcing that
Yeah, that's crazy.
it has
Yeah.
over 1.5 million signups. Now, a couple of those are duplicates, of course, because I signed up through like 10 emails, trying to get up as far as up on that wait list as possible. But do you have plans of listing this on Coinbase, or isn't that possible?
Yeah, I already signed up too. Like I need some people to
Yeah,
sign up with my referral link too, so I can get on there quick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's what's interesting to me is what's coming, and I want to talk about what's coming, past, present, and future. And I think to understand where we are today, it takes a lot of people like understanding where your mindset and what you guys created, the Kira cards, the Ethereums, the Rare Pepes, the spells, all those OG projects where you guys were thinking then, because that's what eventually evolved into where we are with this profile mania today. Now, I think not next week, in the future, we're going to be more immersed in this VR world where our profile pictures, our avatars literally represent who we are in terms of flexing our avatars. There's a reason you buy a CryptoPunk, is literally to flex that person and show that's the guild and the clan you're part of. How do you feel about this acceleration in technology and where we're going with this NFT space?
Oh, I have a Vive. I've been doing VR for a while, like mostly just like Beat Saber, which is not anything NFT related. No, I just actually bought today a little estate on Decentraland because it was one of the metaverses someone told me about. And it was so freaking cool. Like I've done nothing on it, so I don't know anything about it. But and I'm not saying that's a good metaverse. I don't know which one's the good one, or which one will take off. But like I think that kind of thing with VR is going to be so cool. Like where you can have places where you can hang up like your NFTs and show them off, or like really that like when you're talking about like flexing your PFP, being able to like flex yourself like in game, or I don't know, like something that combined like Minecraft with NFTs would be so freaking cool. Or like
Yeah.
RuneScape was this game back in the day.
No, I played RuneScape. It was basically where we're kind of going to evolve into, for sure. But also with RuneScape, it was the more so the more you train, the higher XP you get, the better armor and stuff you would get. And I kind of see a future like that in the virtual world, where it's that there's only 100 people who own that particular armor or that particular skin, and it's a major flex, because it's true ownership in its finest extent. So I think that's where we're kind of going. And I seen you also mention something as well, like people could do insurance contracts on NFTs. People could, do deeds on NFTs. I think everything will eventually go to this technology, because it's true ownership. But to kind of bring this back full circle, as we continue to evolve over the next couple years, over the next 10 to 20 years into this technology, I think we'll look back at 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, even 2018, and even 2021, to be honest, because this is the true revolution. This is like the early adopters. You guys were the super early adopters. But I think we'll look back, especially at something like Pixel Map and all these amazing projects. And this project will be studied for the rest of time. This project will be, in my opinion, will be in museums. It will be in textbooks. It will be studied in universities. It will be talked about in schools, because it's, when you think about, if you just even look back to our history and back to our past, that's what we're interested in. That's what we study. We study artifacts. We try to understand artifacts. Something like this will be something that archaeologists, educators, scientists all try to understand for the future. You know what I'm saying? And try to understand, this is where humans came from. In the year 2050, we're going to look back and say, this is one of the oldest NFTs ever exist. And for that, what you have is almost priceless. Anybody who got it at 0.35, man, those are some lucky people, because to me, it's basically priceless. And what you put on this will live on basically for eternity, because we know it doesn't erase from the blockchain, kind of like the $1 million homepage. There's things on that are still existing in the year 2021, and it was probably created 15, 20 years ago, which is pretty interesting to me.
Well, the interesting thing about that too, though, is the $1 million homepage is stored on a server, obviously somewhere, and then I'm sure they have a backup of it. But like for me with Pixel Map, I did not have the tile data anymore. Like between 2016 and 2021, like all of the art on the screen itself, like I didn't have any of that. And because it was on the chain, it just like regenerated like the moment I brought it back up. So it's one of those things where it's like your little square, even if like I got hit by a bus and someone relaunched Pixel Map somewhere, you would have to have every single Ethereum node go down. Like it's not even on IPFS, like it's on the Ethereum blockchain. So like the odds of not having at least one Ethereum node somewhere in the world working is like, it's impossible. Like that would mean the world is like doomed at that point. Yeah. So that part's really, really cool. That's funny that you played RuneScape. My first experience on that was someone asking me to help them get the Master Sword up north.
Yeah.
That was there was no Master Sword. And that was when I learned like what PvP was. So
Yeah. I really can't remember too much about.
Oh, if you went north, you could kill each other. So
Yeah,
they're like,
it's like
come help me.
Yeah, you kind of had to. It was like a ditch almost, and you kind of had to cross into the wilderness, and people started like you would fight each other, and you could take their. I remember that was the funnest part about the game, because the noobs got slaughtered. You know,
if you're one of them. Yeah.
I think it's super interesting how we're evolving, how we're changing, how RuneScape is basically how Fortnite, you would say, is the modern day RuneScape for your age group. You know, when you were 10, 12, however old you were playing RuneScape, that's how kids today feel playing Fortnite, you know, and who knows what that evolves to in another 20 years. So that's why I'm so bullish on NFTs, so bullish on your particular project being the only project that we know so far in 2016. That alone holds a lot of weight within itself. What other thoughts and comments do you have before we kind of wrap this thing up?
The thing that I would say I'm probably most excited for, aside from like the cool like Matrix like futuristic VR stuff that's going to come on, is the stuff that is more tied to like real life governance tied to NFTs, or real life like if you think about insurance. Like I used to be a system admin for an insurance company. You have so many like middle people in that process, and like all of that could be a smart contract where you don't have like people in between that are getting paid. Essentially, like all of that behavior should be done by a smart contract, in my opinion. Or like another thing that would be really cool is voting, or like say you have a politician and you're wondering how they voted on different things. Like I would love if that were all stored on the blockchain, where you can see like I mean, some of that's kind of creepy too, because like I've done really bad, like my previous decisions were probably not great, but you know what I mean? Like I just think having things like that where it's permanent, or having like even like the deed to your house, like that would be whenever you're trying to like sell or buy a house, that process is so freaking annoying. And it would be so much easier for your actual deed to be an NFT. That might be scary, like if someone scammed you and you accidentally like sent your house. But yeah, just that kind of thing though, where it's like overlapping into more I think like some of the huge companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, all of them, Amazon, you see all of them spending a lot of time and effort on trying to basically get in the space as well, and they're so new where they don't really have much of anything. And I'm not saying like I don't want them to win like the battle of crypto and become like the next big people there too, but like you said, I guess the way I view it is we're all just so super early. But yeah, governance, VR, the metaverse stuff, like all of that, I think is really neat.
Yeah, for sure. I think to piggyback off of that, I think there will be, when you look at the Apples, the Amazons, the Googles, all these companies, they emerged and they became these giants and these powerhouses off of Web 1.0, I would say. When the internet first came out, Amazon, it capitalized off of that moment, and it knocked off the people who were ahead of its time, the people who were whoever the big players were. I wasn't born yet. Then Then you kind of see Web 2.0 come, and then there's the Facebook, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the rise of the social media, the YouTubes, the rise of the social media giants. And I think Web 3.0 is where we're going to see the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, these different NFT companies, these different early innovators. I think we're going to see the next big rise and the next big, and I think that's just a circle of life. Nothing lasts forever. And I'm not saying Microsoft or Amazon or these companies are going to fall off. They have billions of dollars and they'll always be, relevant. But I'm saying the next emergence of millennials and Gen Zers will continue to evolve in this space. But yeah.
Oh, sorry. The one that I think would be really like a really good use case, or that would be really neat, is a lot of things with the gig economy. So things like DoorDash or Uber, where if you look at it, like the people that are doing the actual work are the people doing the driving. They are literally doing 99.9 repeating like of the work. And the only thing outside of that is an app that's connecting people. Obviously, we need like proof of stake or something to fix like gas prices, because you're not going to take an Uber and pay $50 for the transaction. But if that were completely decentralized and all the people that are doing that work received 100% of the money, like that would be so much better. You could have like, it could be cheaper prices and still pay those people more, which they deserve. Like I don't see, like I would be the opposite of bullish for companies like Uber or DoorDash. I really think that those are the things that would be very easy, not easy, because you still have to get like, there's that threshold of people, you have to have a certain amount, but those I think are super primed to be disrupted. Another one would be like, if you look at OpenSea, where it's selling like all these digital things, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have that invade kind of like eBay. Like if you look at how much eBay takes off the top, there's no reason why you couldn't do physical transactions where you have like you know how you have feedback scores for each person.
Yep.
That's associated with like your wallet, and there's no if it's fully decentralized, where you'd have nothing taken off the top for eBay essentially. Like I would love to see things like that, where it's just more of the money going to the people that actually did the work or have the thing or deserve it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I never thought about it like that. And especially that Uber example you gave is very, very good example, because the drivers are doing all the work and they're taking home, after gas and insurance and all their car expenses, who knows how much they're actually taking home. So to have that decentralized is very, very interesting topic. And as I said, we're super early into the space. The year 2029 is going to look a lot different than the year 2021. But one thing I do want to end this off, if I do want to give a cap off, is right now we're super early. We know that a bear market will come. Essentially, it could be a month, it could be a year. We don't know. But what we do know is the profile mania craze that there is going on today, that everybody wants an avatar, which makes sense. I have my own. Shout out to Creature World. But I do think there's going to be a point in time, especially as an influx of users come in, that people are going to begin to look back at history, like the pixel maps, and really start to put a lot of their time and investment in those projects when they realize these profile picture projects are literally hundreds are being created every week, but there will never be a second 2016 project. This is the only 2016 project that will ever exist. Once the masses begin to understand and start thinking for themselves beyond the craze, which I think that's when historical projects will have its value. And to kind of put a top on that is my first NFT. I always wanted an NFT. I got into space early. Not early. I got into this. I knew about the space early. I just never wanted to pull the trigger until I learned about curio cards. Was when this is the first art NFT that exists. I knew at that moment for me, it was a no-brainer that this is something that I need to get into, because there's so many projects to pick from. How do you decide? Where do you pick? How do you even start? But I think the no-brainer for me was, I'm going to buy a piece of history and I'm going to ride this wave either to 100 ETH or to zero. We'll see where it goes. And I think Pixel Maps being the only 2016 project, you have something very special, Ken. I think you'll go down in history. Your name and your project will literally live forever on the blockchain, which is absolutely amazing, man. I hope you continue to do great work with this project. I hope you continue to grow this community. I'm wishing you a ton of abundance. and luck. We're tuning out of Andromeda.
Thank you very much.